I'm Claire and I'm 22 and I'm from Hertfordshire and I've had a bad date. I met him on OkCupid. He had long greasy hair and he would wear these band t-shirts. So I met him at the station and the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, that's a shame, I thought you'd have your midriff out." To which I replied, "It's mid-November." And he said, "Only in your mind." When we went into the pub and we sat down, he insisted that I sat with my legs across his lap. He literally pulled my legs over like this, put his arm around me, and then we were nose to nose. And he looked at me and he said, "All first dates should be this way. Humans just naturally connect this way. This way it's better." I asked him, "Are you drinking tonight?" And he replied with, "Gin and tonic, thanks," tapping the table as he said it. After downing one, he was like, "I could do with another drink," tapping the table again in that weird way he did, and I ended up buying him another one and another one after that, and I'm still not sure why. The conversation on his part was very much me 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 me. And he told me that he was into this and that and that and this. And like, he was like, "I'm so amazing, I'm into everything." He started talking about burlesque, and I was actually in the burlesque society at my uni, and I started to say, "Oh, actually, I know about burlesque." And he went, "Shh, shh, shh, I know more." I mean, he was talking a lot, and I started to tune out because I wasn't interested, until he started talking about hypnotism. See, throughout the conversation, he'd been this close to me and he'd been lightly touching my neck. Every time he said certain words such as connection and closer, and I'm pretty sure at one point he said the word indulge. And I turned to him and I went, "I know what you're doing." And he was like, "What?" "I'm not doing anything." I was like, "You're trying to subliminally turn me on while like I'm sitting here. You're trying to subliminally turn me on with these certain words and you're rubbing my neck." And he was like, "Oh, well, is it working?" I was like, "No, not really." He was trying to defend himself by telling me about his ex-girlfriend and how, "Oh, well, I did it on my ex-girlfriend all the time." At the end of the date, I don't know what he heard, but I said, "I'm gonna go home now." He grabbed my hand and was like, "Yeah, come on then, let's go." And I was like, What did you hear then?" I was thinking, what did you hear? Did you hear, "Oh my God, I really want you to come home with me after hearing all of your techniques and your past. It's really turned me on and I really want you to come home with me"? No, it was just the most uncomfortable situation of my life.
I'm Stephen, I'm 53 years old and I had a really bad date. It was 1982 and I was a young police officer working in London, and I'd just moved to London from Cornwall, so everything in London was exciting and different. One day I had to take a prisoner to hospital, and while I was there I met this most extraordinary nurse. I remember the very first thing she said to me as she walked past, when she raised her eyebrows and went, "Like your helmet." She was sort of a little bit strange and aloof, but at the same time really quite friendly. So I decided to chance my arm and I said, "Do you fancy going out for a drink sometime?" And she goes, "I suppose I could if I've got nothing better to do." So I wondered where to take her. I wanted somewhere exotic and different, you know, the sort of thing that you wouldn't immediately think of. And I thought, I know, what about the Uxbridge branch of McDonald's? So I'm sitting there waiting for her, and she comes around the corner, and I didn't actually recognise her at first because she looked so extraordinarily different from when I'd seen her last. She looked amazing, scary but amazing. But anyway, she came over, sat down and said something like, "Oh, so you turned up then?" So, you know, I asked her, "Did you have any problem finding the place? How did you get here?" And she said, "Oh, I came in my car." And I said, "Oh, what sort of car have you got?" And she went, "It's a Vauxhall Chevette." "What sort of car have you got?" And I said, "Well, I've got a Ford Cortina GXL. You know, it's a nice big 1.6. And then she started talking about, you know, road death statistics and saying that the particular borough we were in at the time had an unusually high death rate or mortality rate for accidents on the A40 on the Western Avenue. So I asked her what sort of films she liked. She said, "Oh, I like films like Blade Runner. I really like that bit at the end where Roy Batty is on the roof dying. and all that business about all these moments are gone forever, like tears in the rain, time to die. And I'm suddenly starting to think to myself, this is a bit weird. Anything I'm saying to her, she's somehow bringing round to death. And she just looked at me and said, so do you see lots of dead bodies then? I said, well, yeah, you do see a few. And she said, oh, we don't see many dead bodies in casualty. They get wheeled away as soon as they die. And then all of a sudden she leans into me and she says, have you got access to the mortuary? Can you get hold of the keys? And I said, well, we've got the keys at the station. For a naive Cornish boy like me, it was just getting creepy and weird, so I made up an excuse. I said, oh, there's been an emergency at the police station, I've got to get back there. And I can remember leaving the restaurant and getting away from there as quickly as I could, and the crashing disappointment that things had gone so horribly wrong. Yeah, I often wonder what happened to her, and what would have happened if we'd stayed together.
My name's Rochelle, I'm 25, and I had a bad date. So I met this guy through a friend. He really wasn't my sort of thing, but he was really funny, really sweet. So we meet up in the morning, and I'd been on a massive bender the night before and was feeling pretty rough. And he just gets so excited. He's like, I've got this big surprise for you. I'm gonna take you on a ride on my dad's private jet. And I was like, oh, that's great. Now I knew he had some money, but I didn't expect him to have private jet money. And I'm this Cockney East End girl who's bladdered from the night before. He said to me, my dad is gonna be with us in the plane and flying the plane in the front while me and you are gonna be in the back having a romantic time. His dad turned up in his real pilot's jacket with the lapels and the badges. And I look like scum in my tracksuit bottoms. So we get on the plane, strap in, and we take off. And I get very chatty at the best of times, let alone when I'm nervous and very nauseous. So I'm chatting about the scenery, I'm looking out and saying, isn't it beautiful? How long has he been flying for? How long has he had his license? I don't stop. He keeps saying to his dad, oh, Rochelle's doing this, Rochelle's doing that, Rochelle's training to do blah blah, and really trying to big me up. I know it's the first girl he's ever taken on the jet, so I know this really means a lot to him. But the conversation gets more and more intense. Jeremy's dad is saying to me, you know, I think you're fantastic, you really could be the one for my Jeremy. You've really got what it takes like to be one of us. And now my hangover's starting to kick in and I can feel myself getting really sweaty. And Jeremy looks at me and he says, are you gonna be okay? Are you gonna vomit? And I said, no, I don't think so. And he said, are you sure you're okay? And I said, yeah. The dad's looking at me saying, you know, I really think you'd be an amazing addition to our family. And Jeremy's saying, I think we've really got something special, babe. And at that point, I vomit all over the front of the jet, all over the back of his dad, and all over myself. And Jeremy's dad is covered in sick, says to me, you still can be part of the family, Rochelle.
I'm Kurt, I'm 25 years old, and yeah, I had a really bad date. So there was this karaoke singer that used to come into the pub. It was enjoyable watching him, but he was an attention seeker, you know, shaking his ass all over the place and giving it a bit of all of that, you know, to all the songs when he's singing them. The songs that he would sing would be like wedding songs or funeral songs, so it was either like all happy, 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 lovey, lovey, or death. So this guy's voice was really annoying. It sounded like he's got a peg on his nose. Whenever I was working in the pub, he'd always come up to me at the bar, you know, so, you with anyone? And I'd be like, no. And he'd be like, are you a player? Are you? Do you shag about? No, I'm not. I'm 18 years old. No. He'd be like, oh, Kurt, what you doing tonight? What you doing after work? Let me pick you up after work. We'll go for a drink. We'll go here or whatever. I always said no. I said no. I needed him to really impress me. and he sang one song on the karaoke that really pulled at me, and it was like a feeling that I've never felt. So the song that he sang to me was mind-blowing. I mean, as soon as I heard the words come out, like, 'cause you're the one good reason, you're the only guy that I need, and we're gonna make this moment and turn it into a tree or something, and you're beautiful, and this place is beautiful, and the karaoke mic is beautiful, and yeah, we're gonna live forever together in a big house in the country. So after the song was over, he's come to the bar to get a drink. Come round for dinner tomorrow night. I'll cook you dinner. What do you like? What do you like to eat, babe? So I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right then, I will. So I got to his house and I texted him and said, look, I'm here. Open the door. And there he is on the floor. And I'm like, hi. And he's like, hi. And I'm like, what are you doing? Candles on the floor, spelling marry me Kurt. Oh my God, what do I do? Awkward. Quick, you've got seconds to decide what to do. Do you A, stay and become engaged because you can't leave the house in case he like murders you or something? Or B, do you peg it? And it says, marry me Kurt, marry me. And he looks so happy, and I'm standing there and I've said to him, you're all sweaty, look at you. Go and sort yourself out. Go and change your top and go and wash your face. I said, you're dripping with sweat. So I pegged it out the house, round the corner, down the road, as fast as I could. It has really put me off getting married for life. First date and someone proposes to you, you're having a laugh. That is a bad date.
I'm Joanne, I'm 20 and I had a bad date. My first ever date was with an older man. I was 8 and he was 9 years old. When I was a kid, I was really shy and I used to hide behind trees and other objects. Adam was like the coolest kid in school. I couldn't believe it, but Adam came up to me and he said, do you want to go on a date with me? And I was like, yes. I was expecting the date to be amazing, but it soon became apparent that we had absolutely nothing else in common. He'd be like, ugh, and then I'd be like, meh. And then we'd both be like, ugh. And then he said, do you want to get married? And I was like, let's get married. So we got our friend Darren to be the first minister. And we got him because he'd been doing a lot of the other weddings around school and he was apparently the best. And we asked him to marry us and he was like, of course I'll marry you because I really, really love doing weddings. It's better than my favourite cereal. It's better than chocolate. It's just the thing that I love to do in the world. Adam looked at Darren and he said, I think that you're a really good priest and I trust you to marry us. And then Darren said, let it be so. And then he asked us the crucial question, which was, what do you swear on? And Adam said, my Blue Eyes dragon card. And he said, I went to great lengths to acquire this card. And I asked him, what lengths are these? And he said that he'd just stolen it off Darren. Darren then looked really sad about the card and I just thought, I cannot marry a guy who's so corrupt and morally soulless. And I said to him, I want to divorce you. And he said, I want my ring back then. And then I proceeded to eat his ring. When I look back at it and think about the life that I could have led with the coolest kid in the school, I feel a slight twinge of regret, but in the end of the day, I got to eat a gummy ring and I was a strong, independent woman.
I'm Luke, I'm 23 years old and I had a bad date. Well, first things first, I think she was beautiful. Also, as well, she just had like a really cheeky personality. I'd say something that was quite funny, and she'd be like, "That's not funny," and then 2 seconds later, she'd be like, "I'm just kidding with you." It was quite funny. So, been on a couple of dates, and it's going really well. So she said to me, "Let's go back to my dad's house." Now, I'd heard rumours about her dad, almost like you hear rumours of Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, that he was a big, non-compromising African man, and that he wasn't to be trifled with. She said, "My dad's actually not at home. He's abroad on a business trip," and I was like, "That's amazing." When we got back to hers, we obviously got to know each other better. So I asked her if it was possible to get a drink from the kitchen. She said yes. So I walked down towards the kitchen, naked apart from my sports socks. As I walked to the kitchen, there were a couple of interconnecting rooms. Then there was this one room that stopped me in my tracks. It was amazing, and I remember saying to myself, this is a room that I want to have when I'm about 30 to 40 years old. In this economic climate, when is the next time I'm going to be in a room that's filled with so much luxuries? And I saw an ivory elephant there. I saw a globe made out of gold, and I said to myself, who even has a globe made out of gold? Like, it's unnecessary. And then I saw this chair. And that was like the Pietà de Resistance. It was crying out for me. It was almost saying to me, sit on me, try me out. So I went and sat in the chair. I didn't just sit in the chair, I swiveled in the chair. Wait, I didn't just swivel in the chair. I moved up and down in it, I moved backwards and forwards, I moved side to side, you name it, I did it in that chair. Now, I'm not proud of my behaviour in that chair. Actually, I regret it. So a week later, she says, we've got to talk. I thought, wow, this is the next step, relationship. I sort of said to myself, yeah, I think she could be the one. So she said to me, my dad has CCTV in the room and he knows that you sat in his chair naked. And so I said, but I had socks on. And then she said, he never wants to see you again and neither do I. And she left. So I went from feeling like I'd scored in the World Cup final to being dumped for sitting in a Nigerian businessman's chair.